The streets of Damascus exploded with joy. People of all ages, from children to the elderly, poured into the streets, their faces lit up with smiles and tears of relief. It was a moment many had dreamed of but never thought they would see in their lifetime. Fireworks painted the night sky, hiding for a moment the scars of a 10-year war. The explosions of color and light were a stark contrast to the darkness that had enveloped the city for so long. For a brief period, the people of Damascus could forget the pain and suffering they had endured. Bashar al-Assad, the man who ruled Syria with an iron grip, was gone. His portraits, once omnipresent, were now torn and defaced, symbols of a regime that had lost its power. The fall of Assad marked the end of an era, but it also signaled the beginning of an uncertain future. His regime, once thought unbeatable, had fallen apart. The buildings that once stood as monuments to his power were now reduced to rubble. The physical destruction mirrored the collapse of the political structure that had kept him in power for so long. But as the celebrations died down, a scary question hung in the air: what happens next? The joy of the moment was tempered by the realization that the future was uncertain. The people of Syria had won a significant victory, but the road ahead was fraught with challenges. Assad's removal, a huge event in the Middle East, has left a dangerous emptiness, a swirling unknown that could pull Syria into a new, terrible war. The power vacuum created by his departure could be filled by any number of factions, each with their own agenda. The country, already broken by years of fighting, is now like a pile of dry leaves ready to burst into flames. The infrastructure is in ruins, and the social fabric has been torn apart. The potential for further conflict is high, and the stakes are enormous. Old rivalries made worse by other countries could start a fire much bigger than the last one. The involvement of foreign powers has added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The alliances and enmities that have formed over the years could ignite into a full-blown conflict at any moment. The world is holding its breath. International leaders are watching closely, aware that the outcome of this situation could have far-reaching implications. The decisions made in the coming days and weeks will shape the future of not just Syria, but the entire region. Will Syria rise from the ashes like a magical bird into a time of peace and freedom? The hope is that the country can rebuild and move forward, creating a new society based on justice and equality. The resilience of the Syrian people gives reason for optimism, or will it be swallowed by an even worse war? The fear is that the country could descend into chaos, with different factions vying for control and innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. The possibility of a humanitarian disaster looms large. The answer, like the broken pieces of a shattered mirror, is messy, complicated, and hidden in the shadows. The future of Syria is uncertain, and the path forward is fraught with danger. But amidst the uncertainty, there is also hope. Hope that the country can heal and rebuild, and that its people can find peace and prosperity once again. The Syrian stage, once controlled by one powerful man, is now packed with people, all fighting for control after Assad. The landscape of power in Syria has dramatically shifted, and the vacuum left by Assad's weakening grip has been filled by a multitude of factions, each with its own agenda and vision for the future of the country. This complex web of alliances and rivalries makes the situation in Syria incredibly volatile and unpredictable. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the strongest rebel group, is ready to take over. This group, often abbreviated as HTS, has emerged as a dominant force in the Syrian conflict. They have managed to consolidate power in several regions, and their military prowess is unmatched among the rebel factions. However, their rise to prominence is not without controversy. Their win against Assad, celebrated by many, hides a dark secret. While some Syrians see HTS as liberators who have freed them from Assad's oppressive regime, others are deeply concerned about the group's extremist ideology and harsh methods. The celebrations in the streets mask a deeper fear of what HTS rule might bring. Worries about their extreme beliefs and the potential for terrible human rights abuses make their rise to power very frightening. Human rights organizations have documented numerous abuses by HTS, including arbitrary detentions, torture, and summary executions. The international community watches with apprehension, fearing that HTS could impose a regime as brutal as Assad's, if not worse. Then there's the Syrian National Army, supported by Turkey, a big player with its own plans. The Syrian National Army, or SNA, is a coalition of various rebel groups backed by Turkey. Turkey's involvement in Syria is driven by its own strategic interests, including countering Kurdish forces and expanding its influence in the region. The SNA's relationship with Turkey provides it with significant military and logistical support, making it a formidable force in the conflict. Their relationship with HTS, full of tension and distrust, will decide Syria's future. The SNA and HTS have a complicated relationship marked by both cooperation and conflict. While they have occasionally worked together against common enemies, deep-seated mistrust and competing agendas often lead to clashes. The future of Syria may hinge on whether these groups can find a way to coexist, or if their rivalry will plunge the country into further chaos. Will they work together, even a little, or fight each other, dragging Syria deeper into chaos? The possibility of a united front against Assad's remnants and other adversaries seems slim, given the deep ideological divides and power struggles. If these factions continue to fight among themselves, the resulting instability could have devastating consequences for the Syrian people. Making things even more complicated are the Syrian Democratic Forces, a mostly Kurdish group supported by the United States. The Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, have carved out a significant territory in northeastern Syria. Their alliance with the United States has provided them with crucial support in their fight against ISIS and other extremist groups. However, their aspirations for autonomy have put them at odds with both the Syrian government and neighboring Turkey. They control a large part of northeastern Syria, and their independence annoys Turkey. Turkey views the SDF, particularly its Kurdish elements, as an extension of the PKK, a Kurdish militant group it considers a terrorist organization. This has led to frequent clashes along the border and Turkish incursions into SDF-held areas. The SDF's quest for autonomy adds another layer of complexity to the already intricate Syrian conflict. Their role in the new Syria, their relationship with the powerful countries, is a crucial piece of the puzzle. The SDF's future will depend heavily on the continued support of the United States and other international allies. Diplomatic negotiations and geopolitical maneuvering will play a significant role in determining whether the SDF can maintain its autonomy or if it will be forced to compromise with other factions. The stage is set, the actors are ready. The various factions in Syria, each with their own goals and backers, are poised for a prolonged struggle. The country's war-torn landscape stands as a testament to the years of conflict and the immense challenges that lie ahead. But the story hasn't been written yet. The future of Syria remains uncertain, with many possible outcomes. The actions of these groups, along with the involvement of international powers, will shape the next chapter in Syria's history. Syria's fate hangs in the balance, like a game piece in a dangerous game. The decisions made in the coming months and years will determine whether Syria can find a path to peace and stability, or if it will continue to be mired in conflict and suffering. The world watches, hoping for a resolution that will bring an end to the turmoil and pave the way for a brighter future for the Syrian people. In the northeastern corner of Syria, a different kind of revolution started amidst the chaos. The Syrian Democratic Forces, a mostly Kurdish group, created a partly independent area, a small island of calm in a sea of war. With help from the United States, they became strong, important in the fight against ISIS. But Assad's fall creates new problems for the SDF. Their independence, allowed by a weak Assad, is now a problem. Turkey, worried about Kurdish dreams of their own country, sees the SDF as a danger. The SDF, caught between the desires of powerful countries and their own dreams of freedom, face an unknown future. Will they be able to keep their hard-won independence, or will they be forced to give in, their fate decided by stronger players? Turkey's gamble, protecting borders, or adding fuel to the fire. This question has been at the forefront of international discussions, as Turkey continues to assert its military presence along the volatile Turkish-Syrian border. The region, already fraught with conflict and instability, has seen an increased military buildup, raising concerns about the true intentions behind Turkey's actions. Across the border, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan watches what's happening in Syria with worry and a sense of opportunity. Erdogan, a seasoned politician, has always been adept at navigating the complex geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. His eyes are fixed on the developments in Syria, where the fall of Assad's regime has created a power vacuum that Turkey is keen to influence. Assad's fall, while good news for some, has created new problems for Turkey. The chaos and destruction left in the wake of the conflict have led to a massive displacement of Syrian civilians, many of whom have sought refuge in Turkey. This influx of refugees has put a significant strain on Turkey's resources and infrastructure, creating a humanitarian crisis that the country is struggling to manage. The chance of no one being in control, the growing Kurdish power, and the flood of refugees all threaten Turkey. The power vacuum in Syria has allowed Kurdish groups to gain significant influence in the region, a development that Ankara views with great concern. The Kurdish fighters, particularly the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, have established a strong presence along Turkey's southern border, which Turkey perceives as a direct threat to its national security. Turkey's biggest worry is the SDF along its southern border. The SDF, a coalition of Kurdish, Arab, and Assyrian militias, has been a key player in the fight against ISIS in Syria. However, their growing power and control over northeastern Syria have alarmed Turkey, which fears that the SDF's success could embolden Kurdish separatist movements within its own borders. Ankara sees the group as part of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, called a terrorist group by Turkey, the United States, and Europe. The PKK has been involved in an armed struggle against the Turkish state for decades, seeking greater autonomy and rights for Kurds in Turkey. The Turkish government views any Kurdish military success in Syria as a potential catalyst for increased PKK activity within Turkey, further destabilizing the region. The SDF's control of northeastern Syria is seen as a direct threat to Turkey, making them fear Kurdish separatism inside Turkey. The Turkish government is particularly concerned that the SDF's territorial gains could inspire Kurdish separatists in Turkey to intensify their efforts for independence, leading to increased violence and unrest within its borders. Erdogan, a clever politician, sees a chance to help Turkey in the post-Assad era. He has been vocal about his intentions to create a safe zone along the Turkish-Syrian border, which he argues would serve as a buffer against both the SDF and the influx of refugees. This proposed safe zone would be under Turkish control, allowing Ankara to exert greater influence over the region and mitigate the perceived threats to its security. He has threatened to attack the SDF many times, wanting a safe zone along the border controlled by Turkey. Erdogan's rhetoric has been matched by military actions, with Turkish forces conducting several operations in northern Syria, aimed at pushing back the SDF and establishing control over key areas. These operations have been met with mixed reactions from the international community, with some viewing them as necessary for Turkey's security, while others see them as aggressive and destabilizing. But doing this could make things worse with the United States, a key supporter of the SDF, and could drag Turkey further into the Syrian mess. The United States has been a crucial ally of the SDF in the fight against ISIS, providing them with military support and training. Turkey's actions against the SDF have strained its relationship with the US, leading to tensions between the two NATO allies. As Turkey continues to navigate this complex and volatile situation, the question remains: is it securing its borders or fueling the fire of conflict in the region? Russia's endgame showing strength or making peace. In the big, complicated game of the Middle East, Russia has become a major player. Vladimir Putin, a skilled strategist, saw how important Syria was early on, sending in his military in 2015 to help Assad and push back against Western power in the area. With Assad gone, Russia's plans are more complicated. While losing their old ally is a problem, Moscow is now a key decision-maker in the post-Assad era. Russia still has a lot of soldiers in Syria, including its naval base in Tartus, a vital tool for showing Russian strength in the Mediterranean. What Russia ultimately wants in Syria is still a mystery. Will Moscow try to make a deal that protects its interests? Maybe working with Turkey and Iran to stabilize the country? Or will it give even more support to pro-regime forces, risking a long fight with other powerful countries in the region?